Hey people, hope you're doing good. Welcome to another episode of Fibro Friday. Yes, it's Friday again, otherwise we wouldn't be here. So first of all, just a massive thank you to everyone involved in the fundraiser. You are amazing. The community has been great. I am so stoked to have met you people. You're sincerely the joy of my life, and it genuinely makes me very, very happy that people are getting together to spread awareness about fibromyalgia. So today, I thought I would speak about something that is a condition associated with fibromyalgia. It's a condition that affects a lot of other people, mostly people that suffer from chronic illness and just others in general, and that is not talked about a lot, and it tends to be dismissed. And I've sort of explained this before in one of our live streams, but I thought it required a bit more attention. So I thought Awareness Week would be a good moment to talk about it. So today I'm going to be talking to you about gut issues and particularly IBS, which is a gastrointestinal condition that is linked to fibromyalgia. What is IBS? So IBS stands for Irritable Bowel Syndrome, which, if you can put two and two together, literally means that your bowels, normally with that we mean mostly your colon, become irritated and therefore they don't work properly. How does this relate to fibromyalgia? Well, like I said, it's not just fibromyalgia, it's also other chronic illnesses, but there are a couple of things that are related and that make them associated conditions. The first one has to do with the use of long-term use of medication. A lot of the medications used for fibromyalgia and other autoimmune and neurological diseases like rheumatoid arthritis, lupus, multiple sclerosis, etc., can be quite aggressive. So that means that your intestines and your stomach end up having a lot to break down, a lot to deal with, and that just causes stress in the gastrointestinal system that causes this irritation and the reason why your bowel doesn't work properly. That's one of the reasons why. The other reason has to do with how essentially our digestion in the bowel, in the colon, works, and that's something that a lot of people don't realize. So let me explain. This is a bit of a gross subject, so I'll try to be as delicate as possible, but if you don't want to be necessarily hearing about this, then I suggest you probably want to skip this part. So you may remember from school when you were being taught about the gastrointestinal system that when you consume food, it goes down through your esophagus, then it lands in your belly, and your stomach puts acid on the food bolus, the sort of bowl of food that goes through you to break it down. So then when it goes through the intestine, everything is absorbed, or at least everything that you can absorb, and then it's broken down into pieces that are easier to digest, and then we end up having the detritus, which becomes essentially our excretions, right? Well, the way the intestine actually breaks this down, apart from acids and enzymes, things like that, is actually through a set of movements. So imagine that this is your tube, your intestine, and essentially what the intestine is doing is this, to break things down into smaller pieces, okay? How does the intestine do that? Through muscles. So the bits doing this are your muscles along your abdomen. Now, as you guys know, people with fibromyalgia have severe musculoskeletal problems which are caused by the nerves, because at the end of the day, the one that's telling the muscles open, close, open, close, open, close in the bowel is the brain, and that communication goes through nerves. So if you have fibromyalgia and those neuronal connections don't work properly, that open, close doesn't quite happen in the natural rhythm that it should, and that can cause an overstress of the bowel or an understress of the bowel, becoming sort of what a lot of doctors say is like a lazy gut, okay? So because those movements of the muscles don't take place naturally or in a way that a normal digestive system would create them, that leads to a lot of other complications. That leads to constipation, indigestion, to a lot of trapped wind and gas. It can lead to severe stomach cramps as well, to muscle pain around that general area, and to even blockages and other things that are not particularly pleasant. So in essence, that means that your food is not digested properly, so you are not necessarily ingesting all of your nutrients the best way that you could. And on top of that, your gut is either overreactive or underreactive, and that's causing a lot of issues with a system that is so crucial for essentially the function of the body. Without food and without the proper nutrients, nothing else can work. And of course, without expelling the things that are damaging and creating toxicity to our body properly, things start eventually slowing down and causing problems, right? For women as well, given the area where that is, and to men as well, but in a lesser extent, think that the area where your colon is and your intestine is, we have several meters of gut here inside us, and it's all wrapped up in a very small, part of the body, if you think about it. All of that stuff, with its overreactiveness or not, it's also having an impact usually in things like your reproductive systems. The ovaries are quite literally behind or in front, depending on how your gut is situated, or rather on top your gut, and the same for the bladder. If you end up having a lot of movement around that area and the pressure gets bigger, it all ends up just becoming really sore. And of course, the extra pressure and the extra pain and the extra soreness triggers the fibromyalgia, because there is an enhanced response from the nervous system saying, hey, there is pain here or stuff that shouldn't be here. What the hell is wrong with you? Fix it. And that's how flares sometimes can happen as well. So that's how those two conditions are related and normally how they happen. So as with fibromyalgia, IBS doesn't actually have a specific cause. Like, we don't know why IBS is provoked. There are a few theories, but it's just theories. So one of them is that because of drug consumption, whether it's for an illness or even painkillers. For those of you who don't know, ibuprofen is actually quite aggressive on your stomach lining. So again, if you're in a lot of pain and you're consuming ibuprofen, which tends to be the only thing that allows inflammation to go away, then your gut becomes exposed to that creates problems, etc. So it can be because of medication that you may be taking. It could be because of diet. Some bodies don't absorb some certain products well. You could be intolerant, you could just have a deficit or something that doesn't work. And a lot of people may be celiac or lactose intolerant or have allergies, or simply not be eating the right things for their body metabolism. So that also has an impact. Or you may be eating too fast or too little, too irregularly, things like that. All of these things affect your gut, okay? It's one thing that I want you to really think about, that just because it's there and it does this process and you eat food and that's it doesn't necessarily mean that it's smooth, or that are not several things that play into it. So that can be another thing that affects it. But the other two things that they have found out that have some correlation to IBS is people that have developed symptoms of IBS and stayed with them permanently shortly after are genuinely bad gastroenteritis or a very severe event of food poisoning. They don't know if maybe the bacteria causes residual damage to the gut that perhaps is causing those issues, or if it's just a trigger effect. And the other thing that is also related to it is stress. The vast majority of patients of IBS, and the same with fibromyalgia, they say that stress seems to make any of their symptoms to do with the gut worse. And it's not coincidental. In case that you didn't know it, the gut is the biggest repository of serotonin in the body. That's why they say that there is the gut brain. It's what it's called for a reason. Serotonin is incredibly important for our mental health and our general well-being and happiness, and it's one of the things that allows us to cope with stress. So if you're particularly stressed, your serotonin is going to end up receiving damage, or it's going to be consumed at a higher rate. You may not be replenishing it quick enough, and because of where it lives, which is in the gut, then that can have associated problems. On top of that, I don't know if you've ever noticed, but when you are nervous or something, don't you feel like your stomach tightens up and all of that? It's because of the intrinsic relation that it has to the nervous system as well. So of course, whenever you get stressed, that's why it hurts in that area. Panic attacks also have an impact in that area, and anxiety because of that, because it's one of our key organs, and the brain needs to make sure that that particular part of our body is doing its job properly, or at least is receiving the right type of information. So that connection needs to be super on point. So that's how these things happen. That's the reason why it hurts. Now, a lot of people brush off IBS because they just think, oh, it's stomach cramps, deal with it. IBS can be a very, very severe condition, and not just IBS, any type of long-term chronic affection of your gastrointestinal system, it's serious. Don't dismiss it just because it seems like it's a little bit of constipation, a little bit of wind, a little bit of stomach cramps. It will mess you up. And IBS, like fibromyalgia, doesn't have a cure, and it is a condition for life. The vast majority of gut conditions like that, unless they're a severe infection or something that is caused by bacteria, stay with you forever. And that's it. Ever since I have memory, I've had problems with my gut. Every time that I've had something serious happening to me or whatever, I've always felt it in my gut. And it seems as time goes on that it is related to fibromyalgia. I don't have IBS diagnosed yet, but seriously, since I was a baby, pretty much a toddler, the doctor always said this girl had problems with her gut, and I've always had to be mindful of it. One of the ways that you can manage any gut issues, or IBS specifically, that may or may not be related to fibromyalgia, this is independent of, but if you have fibromyalgia, it definitely helps, is through diet. There are certain things that make the gut overwork. So if you're constantly feeding yourself things that require more work for the gut, then you're just gonna increment those symptoms and the side effects of it, which tends to be bloating, pain, and severe discomfort. So I guess what I'm trying to say is be mindful of what you eat. If you have persistent issues with your gut, go to the doctor. IBS can be tested much easier than fibromyalgia, and there are things that you can do to fix it, but it is a long life process of coping with it. So seriously, if you have any problems with your gut of any type, whether they are for a few days every month, whether you've been having them for months, IBS bouts can last for who knows? It depends on everybody's. How long is a piece of string? So seriously, go to the doctor and get it checked. And for those of you who may know someone or may be familiar with the subject but may not have known the genuine impact that this has, be a bit more sympathetic. Like, don't just brush it off. It is a severe condition, or it can be a severe condition, and it genuinely has some nasty consequences for our general health. So please go check it. Please control your diet, revise your medication if you're on medication, and make sure that you're taking care of your gut, of your gastrointestinal process the best that you can. Because at the end of the day, if the thing that is keeping you from essentially dying, or one of the many things that's keeping you from essentially dying, as we need food, we all need to eat, if the thing that's consuming and processing your food is not working properly, that's your that's your furnace, that's your engine room. You need to sort it out, and you need to take care of it so that everything works properly. So please don't ignore it. Please check, and please raise awareness. This is a serious issue, so don't put your health aside. Put it always first. Thank you so much. Thank you for listening, and I hope you guys are having a wonderful week and that you have a better weekend. Take care. Bye.